Dang. Dang. Man, all right, okay. I'm feeling it now. Thank you, Ollie.
There you go. Now you got the juice.
Ooh, I do see the stream scheduled here on the channel.
All right, I'm going to go, guys. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, everyone. This is Endurance Chat, and with another actual episode of Endurance Chat, this is a qualifying review / hype for the Rolex24 Daytona, the 2023 edition. With me, this is Cookie Monster FL, Austin Stutzman. We have Chris Washer and Ollie Trevisaurus. How are you doing, my friends?
I'm doing very well. What an exciting qualifying session that was. But
Oh, yeah.
I mean, no one wants to talk about that, right?
Mm-hmm. No. We don't want to chat about the new cars on track. Finally, after a little bit, but
We actually psyched you all. We're actually previewing the Formula E races next week. Sorry about that.
Nice.
Look, I mean,
Better?
yes. Hello, Ollie. How are you doing, buddy?
Hi, not bad.
Good. You can make it. It's a long way away from the shores of America here, where we're finally getting sports car racing started in the northern hemisphere for 2023.
Oh,
Yeah. I'm ready, and it just happens to actually have some IMSA racing to do with it, namely the Rolex24 at Daytona. And really, what we want to do is kind of just get everybody hyped for this race. I mean, even just as sports car fans, all of us nerds have poured through as many rumors, memes, documents, whatever we possibly can to break these new machines down. And we do that every year, but this year is a little bit more special. We've got a lot more new machinery in different classes, and we got to see all of them finally on track and give it maybe not 10 tenths yet. Maybe we saw 11 tenths, but we absolutely saw them dice it out, and the qualifying results, at least for GTP right now, are within a second for the 9 cars that were on track and qualifying. Guys, I mean, at least from how it looks right now, BOP doesn't appear to be a problem heading into it, although I'm sure we've got a few days for teams to start hint, wink, nodding at other teams sandbagging. But what were you guys' first thoughts on the GTP category's first qualifying session?
Looks great. I'm a simple man. I like to see close competitive racing, and that's according to this qualifying session. I normally not like to take times too serious. I like to wait until the race actually develops or get more what's evidence of what's to come. But as of right now, yeah, it looks very promising for the race. And like hypothetically, if the reliability issues don't come into play, we're looking to some very competitive racing over the next 24 hours next weekend.
You said reliability issues, Ollie. So I would say you're the more technical guy out of the three of us here. What are your first thoughts on seeing these things on track, at least in anger, in these first sessions that we're seeing of the LMDH / GTP era?
we're seeing that the drivers are less reliable than the cars.
Which is almost a good thing, almost.
Going into walls. Yeah. It's tough to know yet, because it's all pretty new. Yeah, sure. A lot of the LMDH cars have been running, lots of testing, but also it's all still pretty compressed with how long everything's been getting ready. From the technical side for the spec powertrain, that sort of thing, coming together with all the different suppliers. But yeah, it's interesting to see how, because it's kind of a bit unknown in the kind of public domain, let's say, with how these cars will do, in the limelight. Because maybe there are some testing things that may have been kind of hidden from view, so now it's the proper test, when everyone's watching what's going to happen. So it's good.
Yeah, I mean, just to at least see these cars on track, and for us to have an extra little test session, little practice session with just the LMDHs on track, before qualifying due to a hybrid system software update, which we can get into that in a little bit too. What of our expected reliability or what our projected reliability expectations are on some of these cars, because I mean, just to even see an extra practice session come about before qualifying because of a software update is, I'm not going to say unique, but it is kind of just like this is the new normal of things to come. And especially from what the teams are saying is that this hybrid package, not like it's unreliable, but they've had some teething issues over the last year. So just to kind of see these on track and at least get a perspective of their speed, at least translated instead of just looking at still pictures, was very relieving to me. So, and we're not seeing I don't want to say we're not seeing a lot of issues, but nothing that seemed to prevent any of these teams from going within 0.8 of each other, in qualifying this afternoon. So, honestly, this is about as good of a look as you can ask for GTP, at least heading into next weekend's race. But we'll see. I mean, 24 hours is 24 hours, so I wouldn't be surprised if all of them finished, but I also wouldn't be surprised if none of them finished, to be honest. But we'll find out.
The way I'd describe it is like, yes, there is a lot more that can go wrong, but a lot of it is known quantities, like, the cooling systems, they're well known. The battery systems, they're well known. The motor systems, they're well known. The gearbox, it's all. Nothing's really new, per se, in terms of the spec stuff. It's just, there's more things to go wrong. It's just, will they? We said this years and years for the past few years. With new cars in the WEC and stuff like that, like, the new cars could go wrong, and sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. So it's there are more potential things to go wrong, but will they go wrong? Probably not, but we'll just see.
The numbers would indicate that. I would say at least somebody's in LMDH or GTP is going to finish. But hey, I mean, look, it's come to bear in 2003 when Grand Am did the DPs. That was a mess for them. There was a lot of DPs and they all had problems. So, and all it needs is just a bit of rain and some of these things to go wrong. But again, like that's the 24 hours. Hey, Chris. So with that being said, I want to give a little shout out to our newest championship series that will be running most IMSA weekends, which is the VP Racing Fuels Sports Car Challenge. You're the king of obscure series here. What do you rate this the first two races of the series? What are your expectations of it? Were they diminished a bit, or are you looking more forward to it?
I think they're perfectly fine races. I mean, I think race 2 was a little bit more fun than race 1, mainly because it was a little of the entertainment factors, little funny moments in there. But if you're looking for 45 minutes to kill, I wouldn't say this would be a bad thing to do, because I don't know, I had fun watching these races, and I think it's much better than what we had previous, which is Prototype Challenge, where they had 13, 12 LMP3 cars racing around for an hour and a half, and I don't know, it got boring pretty quick with that. And so I think the new series, we had 24 entries, about more of them came from the GSX class, which is just basically a GT4 to keep it simple, and we had some great racing in that. I really think this series is it's a good addition. And we'll see it. I think the next time we see it is at Laguna Seca.
I mean, I certainly enjoyed how many of the drivers couldn't seem to keep it on track, or at least they knew how to drive, but they still had that iRacing, low I rating, just not able to maneuver confidently enough laps around traffic to not loop it or spin. And some people were trying to pass on the outside and they literally didn't have any grip, ran out of road in the International Horseshoe, and just ran off on the grass. You saw raw racing skills and learning lessons on screen. And it was just not necessarily was comical, but it added like a lot of, well, you have no idea if this guy's going to actually maintain this position after he finally passed him, because he could literally loop it in the next corner, because he's like me, who would be racing and iRacing, where I'm like, I finally got around him, I could set my own, oh yeah, I forgot my own breaking point, and then he just completely like spins it. But because a lot of times too, you got like guys who are inexperienced and they just will just, I don't know, like they forgot where the brake pedal was, and they just go flying into a wall and almost kill themselves. And at least all these guys seem like they're competent enough not to kill themselves, but they're not competent enough to not spin like every other lap sometimes.
Right, it's like one of those series where you can't take it seriously. It's just AMs racing each other. That's literally what it is. Like, you won't find like professional drivers here, unless like they're desperately needing a drive. But yeah, there was a moment in race 2 today, where, like, I think it was the newer M4 GT4, where it just kind of like, it looked like it was gonna make the bus stop, and like at the very last minute, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna cut it instead and make it everyone else's problem.
I think the interesting thing that's... Oh, sorry, were you saying something?
Oh, what's up, Jeb?
Hey, Chad.
Hey, so we also are having people in this live stream as well. So Jeb, who was on our previous little episode about the Daytona preview, what's going on? What do you have to say about this series, Jeb?
Hi, hello. I was going to say, what's interesting too is it's actually shown the pace difference between the LMP3 and the GT4, predominantly in a straight line. What was kind of funny was actually the fact that they're almost the same speed through the banking. Obviously, through the corners, the P3s are faster, but I remember watching... The P3s are a little bit faster through the banking, but watching it and going, oh, he's not really pulling away from him. Like, theoretically, you could probably draft one of the P3s. It's going to be a lot slippier, so there's not going to be as much draft, but I remember watching it and going, huh, that's... It'll be interesting. It'll be more interesting at tracks like maybe like Road Atlanta or something like that. I think Daytona's a really bad track for the P3s because they just have no straight line speed when compared to other prototypes.
Yep.
So, I don't know. I think you said our next race is what?
For the IMSA Pro VP Racing Fuels Sports Car Challenge Series. Let me look that up. I have no idea.
I'm looking it up too.
I think all of us in the stream when we were watching were like, I can't wait for it to get to this racetrack because it'll be a complete like shit show and all this other stuff. So, but I don't actually know what the schedule is. Do you got it?
I'm trying to pull it up right now. It's on IMSA's website. So, they are going to Sebring. Okay, that'll be...
Cool. Yeah, that's the
There's
weekend
no
before.
way CTMP is the third round of their championship, dog.
I just want to pop in here to make things more clear. Sebring, I believe, is the weekend before Super Sebring.
Okay.
I believe. I think it might be paired up with... Because in the past, like, they had Prototype Challenge at Sebring, but it was, like, the week before, it was, like, paired up with the Historics. So hopefully those get streamed. I know in the past that those were not.
Yeah, we're scrambling to look this schedule up, but...
But I'm rushing.
I mean, I'm doing it too, and I can't find it yet, but... No, it's...
So it's the Roar, Sebring, K-Tower Motorsports Park, Lime Rock, VIR, Petit Le Mans. I think VIR Petit Le Mans will be the most interesting rounds. Lime Rock will be really interesting because I imagine the prototypes would be a lot faster.
Much faster.
Yeah, it'll just be interesting because we've seen this when they added LMP3 into IMSA with the GT3s and at the time the GTEs and the GT Le Mans. Is that depending on what, for example, with the GTEs, depending on what track they were at, sometimes the GTEs were actually faster. So I don't think we're going to have this problem with the GT4s. It's just going to be a matter of how close that gap is, because then theoretically a bad LMP3 or an LMP3 recovering from like a spin or an early pit stop could theoretically be racing GT4s for position.
Yeah, and critically be holding them up too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm actually working through this too. But it is March 11th, 12th, so that is the weekend before the 1,000 miles of Sebring and 12 hours of Sebring. So, but yeah, that's a new series. We were definitely interested in seeing how it was. I don't think it overly impressed, nor did it really underimpress for me. But you know, it was entertaining in a way that the Prototype Challenge wasn't before. Because again, it just I don't know, just having a single car series then that low with those specs didn't really produce like very tight racing, and with that, we would get that from Mazda MX-5, which is also going to be next weekend. 2 races. Definitely, you guys should be checking those out as absolute musts if you're at the track, and if you can watch them. I believe there is a race on Friday, and there's a race in the afternoon on Thursday. Yeah,
Yep.
45 minutes, 5:30 p.m. to 6:15. Tune your radios to that if you're not at the track. Ha ha ha. Or there's another race, Mazda MX-5 race, 45 minutes from 10:15 to 11 a.m. on Friday, January 27th. So
Is
that's
Friday going to be
Eastern.
all racing?
It's going to be lots of racing, yes.
Strategically asking because I have Friday off.
There is a practice 9:25 to 9:55 for Michelin Challenge, but yeah, mostly
Sorry,
racing.
I just want to point out something interesting. This is 2020. Oh, never mind. IMSA. Never mind. I'm dumb. I was reading IMSA's website wrong.
Oh, no worries. That's what we do half the time anyway, especially with the podcast.
Yeah.
I read all my stuff wrong on this, regardless.
What was the pace difference between the GT3s? The GT4s and the LMP3s around Daytona?
Oh.
Ooh, oh,
Quick to Camel Systems.
I'm looking right now. Qualifying for P3s was 140. Pole was a 146. Pole for the GT4s was a 155. So that's a 10-second gap. That's interesting because I've looked at 2 tracks so far, and the gap seems to be around 10 seconds in pace. So that sounds quite big, but it didn't look big when I was watching it on the broadcast. The P3s actually looked quite slow compared to the GT4s.
Yeah, it definitely depends on pilot. The P1 was storming. Whoever, I can't remember his name, it was in the LP3, was doing a good job getting through a lot of the traffic and putting them a lap down within 45 minutes. So it's definitely enough where he's going to see him then, but I don't know. I think maybe I don't know. Besides that, like I said, I would hope to see more cars in the class, but hey, I'm looking forward to the rest of the schedule because there's going to be some races where there should be a lot more of a mess with some of these cars. But yeah, so besides that, testing for the other classes that are going to be racing the Rolex24 continue besides GTP. And we had some new cars in GTD. I'm sorry, not. GTD and GTD Pro with the Porsches and Ferraris, who were seeing quite a bit of an issue with the Porsches in their top end, which it gave some people concern. However, I think it's mostly like an IMSA thing. They seem to just underperform some of the new cars rather than overperforming them on BOP, but it's seeming like with the data that it's pretty significant their top end speeds reduced. So do you guys think that there should be any last minute BOP for the Porsches or even the Ferraris or anything like that, or do you think this might play out just fine?
I think the first thing in terms of IMSA dealing with the BOP and never seeming to get it right for the new cars, I'm willing to bet you what probably happens. This is not confirmed, but I'm willing to bet you what probably happens is that a manufacturer gives them a number, and they go, what's the real number? And then they probably get the same number, and then they go, that's not the real number. And then it turns out it might actually be the real number, or it might be different. So they kind of just guess. I feel like first-time BOP really is just a guess. That's the problem. And so, I don't know. I'll cut IMSA some slack. Once again, this is the test weekend for the Rolex24. So we found out the BOP's wrong. So they'll probably adjust it for the actual race. But in terms of that, I don't know, actually. How off the pace are they? I'm trying to pull up the results, and it's agonizing.
Well, there's sector 3 times where they were losing a lot. I think it was either 6 or 7 tenths or something like that they were losing on the.
Is sector 3 just the banking?
It's braking zone of the Le Mans chicane or whatever that is, chicane.
Bus stop.
Or no, not the bus stop. Oh, well, Le Mans bus stop or something. I don't know, whatever they're calling it. But basically, the end of that or the braking zone of that to the start finish line.
Okay, so it's literally just a straight line. Well, I mean, there's 2 corners, but it's effectively a straight line. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So okay. But are they? How much slower are they per lap? Or are they just slower in Sector 3? They might just have no top end, but they might be faster in the infield.
I think they're
Gap
decent
for
on pace in the infield.
fastest Porsche, the gap for the fastest Porsche was 3.2 seconds behind pole.
Oh,
But so
really glad I didn't pick that FAF, eh?
Yeah. Also, by the way, everybody, we do a fantasy endurance pick'em for Rolex24. Not pick'em. I'm sorry. But weighted fantasy. MW Clarkson, thank you for all your work, and good luck to everybody in 2023.
I absolutely cannot wait until I forget about like the second WEC round, and then I go, 2024 is my year for real.
Yeah. How many times has that happened, Jeb?
I genuinely. Well, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm bad at remembering fantasy WEC, but I literally forgot to pick Le Mans one year. Like I forgot
You're bad
to
at
pick.
remembering WEC, let alone fantasy.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'll
That's how
join
I've
and I'll be like,
seen-
"Hey, what's on?" And it's like, "Oh, it's the 8 hours of Bahrain." It's like, "Oh,
I mean,
Yeah.
Bahrain. Okay, I'll give you that.
yeah."
But it's an 8-hour night race. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, let me
In
hop
the
on
desert.
that real quick. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got obviously the 2962 is looks and sounds lovely. Well, I don't even know. Do you actually? I don't know if I want to say sounds. Do you guys like the sound of it? This is such a specific, stupid question, but
It's
what
nice,
do you?
but it's quiet.
Yeah.
It's just really quiet. It's like the BMW M8. Like it sounded really cool, but you could only hear it when it was on its own.
Mm-hmm.
If it was any car around it, would drown it out.
It sounds that like it sounds like almost like a cross between like a V6 and a V8 that just is farting all the time. Like that's all I can think of.
The way,
Sorry,
the way
I still don't know what
kind
car
of
we're
feel
talking
with
about,
these
by
The
is
the Ferrari.
like a hairdryer.
Yes.
Like a hairdryer
Yes.
sound.
Yep.
That's just lots of fast moving air, and that's kind of it.
Was that a good thing?
I don't know. I don't know.
There's the noise.
Yeah, it's I like
no
it's
bass.
it's confusing. I'll say that. Like there's a part of it where I like it, but then it also just doesn't like there's a part that's unappealing, so it makes me conflicted. So I guess good job Ferrari. I don't know how I feel about the sound of the car, but
That noise could be wasted air. It could be wasted
true.
energy.
well,
That's why
yeah.
the Audis were really quiet. The diesels.
No, I mean, yeah, they were.
quick.
I mean, that was interesting because I was going to make a comment about how we were talking about vacuum cleaners with the Peugeots, but and now we're talking about hair dryers with the Ferrari GT3. But yeah, again, a very aggressive look. The car seems stable, and again, like these are just like at least some observations of some stuff that we could see from qualifying. Porsche had a little off in qualifying with their GTP. And I don't know. It definitely did look like the Porsches were a little bit more on edge in terms of their corner entries and exits. Like it didn't seem like they were as smooth as like the Cadillac seemed pretty smooth, and the Acura was just it seemed like it was darty, but it was very planted, and it would get to every apex that it needed to quickly. So I don't know. It was interesting seeing the look of the GTPs and as well as the new cars. But yeah, I mean. Other than that, it's just hard to get a gauge of them. But we'll talk too about the qualifying results for the rest of the field here. But for LMP2, we had the 52 of PR1 Matheson Motorsports claiming pole for that category. Any thoughts on the LMP2 qualifying results, guys?
And that session ended early because of a crash at the bus stop with the number, I believe, I can't remember the number, was the Tower Motorsports car with John Ferrano behind the wheel. And then Fred Pordad, I believe turn 6 had a little incident in turn 7 or turn 6, going straight off in the Proton competition car as well, and that caused a red flag, and that basically ended the session early. So those cars will start at the back of the grid on Saturday. But yeah, Keating once again shows why he's getting all these drives and why he's racing for Corvette and WEC.
Yeah.
I think something interesting to report too. Ben Keating, I believe himself. Feel free to find a source on this. Right around because that incident was late in qualifying, right?
Yes.
The,
That was like with
the bus stop incident.
that
It
was
was
like
around mid. It was like 5 minutes ago, 6 minutes ago.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. It would be interesting because I know because Alchemel's cool and they have a weather report. This is pretty neat. I know Ben was talking about how the wind changed at some point, which would 100% affect how those cars are going to the bus stop too. I know he said that for GTP qualifying, but I'm looking at it. I'm not trying to be a weather guy now, but the graph that goes up and down with the wind speed has a lot of very sharp lines around the middle to end of qualifying. So that might have been somewhat of a factor in the bus stop. I'm not saying it's entirely based on the wind. You know, it might have been a skill issue.
It was
but...
windy though. That is, I definitely would. I would underscore that with it was windy. I don't think it was as windy as last year at some times, but I mean, it looked like 20-mile-an-hour gusts potentially, and it looked. I think the wind direction was like crosswind for the backstretch as well. So, again, Daytona is such a huge track, and it is open-ish, quote unquote, like for wind to really whip and get in there and pick up speed. I mean, it's definitely not something where the cars are protected from wind at all. So that absolutely could have played a factor in it.
Well, it's also next to an airfield too, right? So it's got a large open space that the wind can come over. Where it's supposed to, like a track like Road America, where it's got all the trees built up around it. You can't really get that. Whereas if you're next to a wide open space, which itself is next to the ocean, I 100% expect the wind to be a factor in that point.
Really protected by any grandstands there, are they?
No.
So,
Yeah,
just
especially not on the
advertising
back straight.
boards
Yeah.
and the wall.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know, and it genuinely, I would say even more so, like Sebring is an open area because it's a previously used airfield, and you know it'll get windy to a certain point, but there's a lot of trees that are at least somewhere nearby. Daytona has a regional airport that's right in the back behind the speedway, so you have a massive amount of area for just essentially that there's no trees or anything really obstructing the wind. It does pick up, and the bankings do not do anything when it comes to like helping the wind. If anything, it kind of creates more of a depending on the direction, it'll channel wind like more almost around the corners and create even more gusts. Like it's definitely an experience to be out there January, February, and to be on a windy day because it's more than you think.
Yeah, so looking at the wind data right now, or weather, wind direction right now, it's directly in line with a tailwind for braking into the bus stop. So that's really bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's about the worst scenario. Apart from I guess a crosswind.
Yeah,
It would just be awkward.
So no crosswind, but tailwind, which is bad. Actually, I'm sorry to jump around here. I forgot to do the GTP qualifying. I mean, we talked about it, but I don't think
know what that is actually.
Oh, okay.
I'm not familiar with that class.
Yeah.
No, it's really new, Jeb. So you might not have.
Is that from
about
VP Sports Car Challenge?
Yeah, no, it is. It is. It
We
is.
do historics right now.
It's historics qualifying.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah.
right.
They lumped them
Yeah,
with
like
IMSA.
stuff from the 80s,
Or
that kind of thing.
on the pole, Chip Robinson.
This is what they meant to do for the IMSA 50th anniversary, but they just didn't do it.
Maybe they go to Mosport, maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did say
they go in late August. The traditional date.
God, I did say 9 cars for GTP, or I'm sorry, 8 cars were actually had, or no, 9 cars, but 8 cars actually had the actual qualifying thing go through because one of the Porsches wrecked. We had the number 6. Yep, number 6 by Nick Tandy for Penske Porsche.
And he was on a flyer. Like he had the best Sector 1 and Sector 2 of that lap.
Then he got hit by a microburst. No, he didn't. Just lost it.
But it's Nick Tandy. Insert whatever that Bill Auberlin clip that I had up once. But yeah, so that led the Porsche Penske didn't actually fare too bad. They had a P2 with this. Number 7 grabs second place. I saw Konica Minolta, and I thought Cadillac, which is terrible. But they're in the Acura, and they grabbed third place, with the pole going to Meyershank Racing in the number 60, the Acura ARX-06, and that was Tom Blomqvist driving. So it really does look like the Acuras seem to have the really quick pace. We'll see on long stints how they do. It just looks like they can get to an ultimate pace easier quote unquote to say than the other ones. And this is just first glance, but the Cadillacs, rounded out at least the last. I'm sure I should say 4, 5, and 6, and BMWs rounded out the last 2 that were not disqualified for wrecking. So the 7 will start at the back, the 6 will start at the back, and we'll have a good spatter of GTPs, all with good lap times next to each other. So what are your guys' thoughts on at least the qualifying results? Is this anything to take away to the end of the Rolex 24, or do you think this order gets really jumbled up before the end of the race?
Well, I mean, it will get jumbled up. It's the Rolex, but I think the main predominant thing with Cadillac being so far back, quote unquote, so far back, they're only like 2/10 off. Which, when you actually think about in the spec of professional racing, yes, 2/10. I know 2/10 can be a lot, but 2/10 isn't that much for entirely new regulations.
Not only the IMSA regulations too, which have lucky dogs, or I should say wave arounds, and have more yellow or cautions, I should say, because we're still in America, doing this on NASCAR. But yeah, so it should genuinely be easier for you to, even if you don't want to go 10/10 to keep up with somebody, you just can keep up until there is another caution and run your own race, whether that be a fuel strategy, a tire strategy. I hope to see a bunch of that start to come to play, especially with how close the qualifying was. This at least gives me hope that we're going to see out-of-the-box stuff outside of just outright pace and whether or not a driver feels comfortable in the car and can get through traffic. This should be really good, at least as far as I'm concerned. But Ollie, did you anything to take from this at all, or is this just kind of nothing really? Do these qualifying results mean anything to you?
Well, it's tough because like there's so much that can happen in the next 24 hours of the race, kind of thing. Some things that were interesting is there was the late red flag, and then there was maybe 1 flying lap or 2 flying laps, maybe, was it? And it's interesting how the pole time came from those last laps. So, you know, how Tom Blomqvist was able to turn on those tyres really quickly and get a pole lap from that short amount of time was really impressive. So maybe we'll see the Acuras really good at turning on their tyres, like, you know, cold tyres coming out, new tyres coming out of the pit lane. So that could be interesting. I haven't really looked at all at practice times, like if anyone did a kind of simulated stint, like full stint, because, you know, that's where a big amount of this Rolex performance will come from, you know, multi-stinting tyres, that sort of thing. But also, as well as the tyres, it's the kind of fuel-saving strategies and things like that will also come out in the wash during the race. And yeah, we've got a lot of learning to do watching along.
Excellent. Oh, go ahead, Jed.
I was just gonna say, I think it's gonna be an interesting race regardless. I think new teams and new cars, but more importantly, I'm mainly interested to see how the new top tier prototypes do, because like Ollie said earlier, yes, there's a lot more things to go wrong. Will they go wrong? Probably not. But I think it'll be interesting because if there's anything that I've learned from watching endurance racing, is weird things happen in 24-hour races, and just weird effects that you haven't experienced. Not necessarily something failing, but just, you know, hey, this sensor didn't fail, but it's only reading, you know, this value. And you know, it could be because the air pressure dropped, the temperature dropped overnight, something like this. It just, the vibrations caused it to throw errors, and it just eventually gave up the ghost. You know, I think that'll be interesting to learn about, and I look forward to seeing some of the technical breakdowns post race. Hopefully, learning about that, because I find that really interesting. Is the small things you can prepare the big things, especially if you're a big team like Porsche, Penske. You can prepare the big things for the Rolex, but it's the tiny things that will cause you problems, and the tiny things can add up too. That's what I'm more interested to see about, is the tiny small things that add up over the course of 24 hours.
I was just gonna say, and with the fact that these are completely new cars, like they just hit homologation, late last year, like late December, mid-December. So they didn't make. I think there's an interview with Sebastian Bourdais from the Racer Channel that happened this week. Like the people making the parts, like they weren't gonna make the parts until they knew what was homologated. So now you're into this really brand new segment of homologation. There's not a whole lot of spare parts going around, so that's why when I first saw that 6 rack for the Porsche, I was like, oh, they're gonna be the whole world of hurt.
And that's always going to be a thing going, especially for the biggest race of the year for the series, which is also the longest. I think it makes big challenges for especially these new teams and trying to source parts. Like some people were saying, as soon as the Porsche crashed, it was just like, well, they're going to be working really, really hard. I think you said that, Chris, overnight to try to get this thing repaired, because who knows even if they have a lot of the spare parts required, if there's anything that's broken, kind of thing. And they want to have preparation done and finished and ready to go before, as much as they can before their race week starts officially tomorrow and Tuesday. So it's going to be I don't want to say starting from the back foot because that's so cliche, but it's trying to make up for lost time, especially having to repair a brand new car that might not even have parts fully sourced and prepared for yet as backup. But outside of that, we've got just a couple of things for just sourcing here for LMP3 for qualifying. Sean Creech Motorsport grabs the pole. That with that's a better time than we saw in the sports car challenge. Anything of note here, gentlemen, that you want to discuss, or is this just LMP3 for the sake of LMP3? And
Can I just bring up an interesting but unrelated thing,
Yeah.
IMSA related, that I just learned of right now? I got breaking news fresh off the press.
Oh, awesome.
Many of you guys know Steve Myers, the guy who runs iRacing. He's the iRacing guy.
Yes.
Somebody tweeted him and asked him. He said, "Hey man, I'm watching the Roar coverage on Peacock. When are we getting another one of these GTPs? These look really cool." Steve Myers has responded, "We have more coming." So that'll be pretty cool. Get some more prototypes in sim racing. Get that brand, get that marketing out there. Earn big bucks for Porsche. Did you know 50% of Porsche's revenue comes from sim racing? Actually, it's true. It's a real fact.
Wow.
No, that's not true at all. But
I'm
I'm
impressed with that false fact. That was impressive.
And talking about LMP3, I don't know. I can't really read too much into the LMP3 qualifying. It's LMP3. So.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
Didn't we have like a LMP3 moment? I think we had a couple of LMP3 moments in the qualifying. Like someone spun. JDC Miller spun at the bus stop, I think. There's one other car maybe spun around in the infield. But yeah, it's an LMP3. It's just there to add more cars to the grid. No, I don't know. We'll at the Rolex there'll be a nice class because it's an extra class to follow up and keep tabs on. But I don't think there's really much of note in here.
So, all right, fine. I'll shift my focus to GT qualifying. My God, we have a lot of GTs here at Daytona. We usually do, but we've got some pretty high caliber, I would say, entries. Qualifying overall, obviously the GTDs will end up behind the GTD Pros. We saw some GTDs being a little bit faster than the GTD Pros. I'll give the GTD pole winner first because they deserve it. I mean, they drove fast as GTD Pros. Ellis driving for the Mercedes AMG GT3, the number 57 in GTD. So he grabs pole. I'm going to talk about GTD first, guys. What are your guys' gut picks, or what do you guys like and dislike right now about some of these entries heading into the 24-hour race in the GTD category?
Mercedes are quick. I believe the top two were Mercedes with Windward and Sun Energy 1.
Top three, actually.
Top three. Oh, yeah, because Team Korthoff?
Yep, Korthoff.
Yeah, and this Windward Racing was my pick for Fantasy Endurance, so I already got points of the weekend for that, so thank you very much. I know the big story. I think the big story for GTs, also like a side note here, for anybody who's new, the BOP, the GTD Pro, and GTD cars exactly the same, so that's why you'll see a lot of intermixing between the classes. So that's why you see a couple of GTD cars up front in front of the GTD Pro cars. But obviously, I know we spoke on it before, but the big story is the Porsches and how far back they are. And I know people are peddling whatever theories they have on why they're either it's BOP games or if they're legit that off the pace. But I don't know. I hope there's smarter people in the world than me that are focusing on this issue, so I'm not gonna get too hell bent about it. I trust them to make the right decision because IMSA has a better track record for BOP in my opinion, and they'll balance the Porsches if they need balancing for it to make them competitive.
Yeah, especially because of BMW's bad suffering last year. I think kind of didn't necessarily make a pattern, but it definitely looked like a pattern where it was just, a lot of these new cars are going to really suffer with BOP. And this year, the Porsche's in a way better standing in terms of reliability and just progression of the car. But they seem to be suffering maybe a little bit more of a impact from BOP than potentially even the BMW had. But again, this isn't necessarily a completely unknown thing. The 296 really kind of avoided that because their highest one was ninth in class for GTD. The rest of their other two finished pretty down in the order as well. So, or the other three, I think in 16th, what was it? Ninth in GTD Pro. Yeah, I mean they were well down as well. So again, I feel like it would be more glaring issue potentially with the amount of Porsche entries we're seeing, but I also think this just seems to be status quo from IMSA and how they handle new cars, and for that matter, WC as well. I mean, look how bad the Corvette has suffered trying to get up to pace the last few years in GTE when it was in there as well. So, how about anybody else? Jeb or Al, you got any other thoughts on GTD? Liking what you're seeing? Hate it?
Yeah, yeah. Then it's weird because it's new cars. It's kind of interesting seeing Chetilar kind of stick their head out over the parapet with their lap time.
Yep.
But on the other hand, that could be Fuoco. Like I think it was Fuoco in the car, like dragging it around and making it a lot better than it was. But yeah, we'll see. But a lot of GT3 racing, like I explained before, is how you manage not these one lap quali runs.
Mm-hmm.
It's the multi stints, how easy the car is to drive, and as we have our eyes on GTD, it's also how easy and manageable it is for these amateur drivers.
Yep. Exactly.
And, if these two, if let's say we're talking about the Porsche and the Ferrari at the back, if they're easier to drive by, let's say 5 or 10% for their amateur driver, and you manage to get your amateur driver to drive that bit faster for their stint lengths, it can cancel out what the pros can do, because the differences in the amateur lap times are going to be far greater than the differences in the pro lap times.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think sure it's interesting to kind of make some conclusions, but I don't think it's over in any respect for the Porsche or Ferraris necessarily. Like we can't say that yet for sure or not. As for the pro stuff, I don't know if we want to link into that yet, but that's where it kind of gets a bit more concerning because you don't have that kind of bigger variance in driver talent. It's all really up there. So yeah, that's a bit more frustrating. But also, when comparing GTD and GTD Pro, the GTD Pro teams are much better at holding their cards and like driving to a set pace. So, I think maybe they're kind of just a bit chilled, let's say, compared to GTD Pro. GTD as a whole.
I think I kind of share the same sentiment, honestly. It really is too early to tell. The main issue that Daytona has is that it mostly, like 90% of the track is a straight line, right? So if your car is just more aerodynamic and has a higher top speed, you're going to be faster, and so therefore you're going to go, oh, the BRP is awful. It's same, like we're seeing it with the Mercedes being so quickly. Well, the Mercedes is a straight line car. Maybe we're going to get to, you know, what's a good example of a windy road course?
VIR.
VIR, and the Mercedes could just be like completely awful because it's heavier or whatever. And then people are going to go, oh, they messed up the BOP. Oh, the Mercedes is slow now. It's just so bad. And it's like, no, it's like cars be handled differently on different circuits. I think my point is, I think it's too early to tell.
100%. I agree.
That's quite interesting point actually, because it comes into back around to the top of the field with the GTPs and like how they have got heavier compared to the DPIs, but because this is such a straight line dominant, well, it's not a straight line, it's an oval, but anyway, this is such a top speed dominant track, like the extra power kind of outweighs that extra weight, let's say, and so yeah, we will see like competitive lap times for heavier cars with the extra power here compared to, like you say, a twistier track, because it's such a unique like scenario, kind of like how Le Mans is different to every other wet track.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's I don't even bother talking about the BOP until Sebring, realistically, because Sebring's a more accurate judge, right? It's got fast bits, but it's got technical bits, and it'll kind of more accurately judge your car. Apart from the obvious, it'll break your suspension or whatever. But
Perfect track.
Like, A, it's the first race of the season, and B, it is Daytona, right? So
also, like, wait till the middle of the race.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
That's the problem too. Is it's like it's Daytona, so not only is it the first event of a season, where they'll probably make mistakes anyways, but it's a track that's effectively a straight line. And it's really hard to tell how well a car handles in mid-speed corners when it's going in a straight line. Like you can't tell, right?
All right,
There's
so
like there's two slow corners at Daytona, and they're both hairpins. Well, six.
well, it also helps that, you know, that's why Cadillac did very well. I think that the Dallara specific chassis that they used with it is slippery down a straight line, and they had a good power plant behind it, and they were just very, very good at Daytona, and they got essentially BOP'd to the part where Acura and Mazda. I mean, Mazda was quick too, but just not to the reliability aspect. But sorry, that was a little tangent. But GTD Pro, we're talking about GTD, so I'll just shift real quick to do GTD Pro, so we got the whole qualifying out of the way. That's a WeatherTech Racing pole again, guys, in their Mercedes AMG, and Mauro Engel is on a roll. Like, the dude is just hitting poles everywhere. Like, there isn't a race where he's entering right now where he's not like qualifying basically at the front row. Anything to take away from qualifying entries here? Do you guys have any favorites? Obviously, these are more pro entries, so potentially we can gather maybe a little bit more out of these. But you know, did you have favorites going into this? And after qualifying, are they still your favorites?
Yeah, the 60 was my favorite, mainly because of just I like the driver lineup, and I'm quite happy with my decision since they got pole. In terms of FWEC picks, I chose once again the 57 for GTD, and they got pole as well. My Corvette's kind of middle of the road down there. I will have to wait and see how they do. Can't remember who I chose. I chose the 04 CrowdStrike Racing LMP2 for that class. So yeah, I mean, like Jeb said, I think all this anybody who knows what the BOP is, how exactly it's gonna work, they're just making predictions. They're not making any just wait and see. Plus, we got 4 more practice sessions before we get back to get to the green on Saturday. So we'll be able to have a lot more information then. Well, with what we have, because it's only gonna be practice.
I think my my heart pick would be the Heart of Racing team, and they did pretty well in qualifying. I'm really, I don't know. There's something about Aston Martin just all the time failing at doing anything of relevance to in GT at Daytona. Like I remember so many like one-off AMR entries that would just have the dumbest thing happen to them, like the first 2 or 3 hours in the race that would take them out of complete contention, and it was just the most annoying thing ever. And I was just like, I just want the Aston Martins to be decent whenever they're running here, because they can do it. They clearly won them all a couple times and they never would. So I've been pulling for them to like finally cross that barrier, especially in the more prestigious pro category for the GT classes. And I think they might have a good shot this year. We'll just have to see how the Porsches get handled over the next week, because if this is not going to change, and they don't have a good halfway pace at the end of it, I mean, there's a lot of cars here that we're not suspecting to be up on the leaderboard that might still stay there in the morning hours on Sunday. So, but yeah, anybody else, Ollie or Jeb, did you guys have any interesting revelations after qualifying, or are you pretty still locked into what you guys were thinking was going to happen?
No, I'm still locked in. I mean, not all my picks are leading, but they're still doing pretty good. So.
Okay. Jeb,
like I said,
Jeb,
it's so up in the air that I just, I'm not gonna cry over spilt milk, so to speak.
Yeah. Can I ask, what did you pair with that milk that you're eating?
Huh?
It sounds like you're eating something.
I mean, trail mix. Thanks for calling me out.
I don't know. You got to break the fourth wall every now and then. You got to figure out.
I mean,
Okay, that's good. Well, I mean, it's Canada. What else are you gonna eat up there?
Unbelievable. sorry. Do you want me to bring up cheese and spotted cow?
Oh yeah, those are good things. I'll tell you about them all day. I could do a whole episode on that. It'd be totally off topic, which is my brand.
Yeah, how many brats have you got right now?
Not enough. Not enough. I need to start bribing the repair shop. My car's in the shop until Friday, so I can't get to the Daytona until Friday because I have a blown water pump in my GTI. So maybe I was told to literally go out and get bratwurst, grill them up, and serve them to him so I can get my car back faster. So I think Indecisive Rock said that to me. So that goes par for the course for Indecisive Rock saying that. But yeah, so I might have to do that, guys. Go get some bratwurst tonight.
Is he holding your car hostage? That's what it sounds like.
No, I worded that wrong. He's at Daytona, and I guess he's just giving me advice on how to get my car back faster from the shop. He's saying I should offer food as either compensation or motivation. I think more motivation, but I would prefer compensation because it's a lot of money. Anyway, that was my one episode tangent soapbox that I do every episode, ladies and gentlemen. So I hope you guys enjoyed that little 2-minute rant. But anyway, so let's see. Does anybody have any questions? I know this is supposed to be kind of a live interactive thing, but everybody's been quietly listening or not commenting on anything. But Chris, do you have anything that anybody asked you at some point that you can remember that we can try to randomly answer or comment on?
Well, we can talk about what's happening next. So basically, we got 3 full days where we just have to twiddle our thumbs and sit in our butts and sit and wait. But then Thursday comes around and we got I believe we got 2 practice sessions for the WeatherTech guys, which as of right now they are not streamed, only live timing in IMSA Radio. But Thursday afternoon is where you get, like Cookie said before, you get the Mazda MX-5 Cup race, which that is a must-watch. So definitely put that in your calendars. And I don't know what the streaming situation is going to be like this year. I know in the past it was streamed live and free worldwide, no geo-blocks, on the Racer YouTube channel. I hope that's the same. If not, then IMSA TV will have it, and maybe Peacock. Then Friday comes around, we get another 2 practice sessions, I believe. Oh yeah, Thursday gets 3 practice sessions, and Friday gets 1 for the WeatherTech. Then Mazda MX-5 Cup on Friday morning, and then there's also, I believe, Formula E in between that and the Michelin Pilot Challenge race, if you're interested in that. And
not at Daytona, though. Not at Daytona.
Not at Daytona, yes, correct. That'll be in Saudi Arabia, but that's a whole other topic. But then there's also Michelin Pilot Challenge, which is one of their 2 4-hour races of the year, and that starts.
Yes, sir.
By my count, 12:30 Eastern, 1:30 Eastern.
Oh, that's perfectly timed. Let's go.
Timing will be on the IMSA website in Eastern
It starts
time.
at 1:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Eastern
There you
server.
go. There we go. So 1:45 p.m. Eastern for a 4-hour race, and then I don't know, maybe after the Michelin Pilot Challenge race, we'll have a little vintage night for people who don't want to go to bed just yet. People want to stay up a little bit.
You're telling me you don't want to watch a GTP only practice?
Heck yeah.
9 cars
Heck yeah.
lapping for 20 minutes.
Hey, I mean, it'll give us something to listen to at
Why
the
did
track.
they move the start time up? I thought it was at 2:40. Now I'm gonna miss like 3 hours of it.
And then, then Saturday comes along. That'll be your IMSA TV worldwide, except for the Baltics and New Zealand and the States. They'll be geo-blocked.
Perfect.
I believe the Dutch and German also has like a separate feed, but they won't be geo-blocked. That'll be just kind of like an addition to their coverage. And NBC in the States, Sky TV in New Zealand, Viaplay in the Baltics and Scandinavia. Yeah, that's pretty much what to expect. If it's not a race, for this upcoming weekend, it's not going to be streamed. That's kind of the simplest answer I can give you. And then if you obviously we're here in the Discord, we'll post official live stream links and typing in our chats, along with event tabs or event start times in our events tab.
I will be live at the track. I don't know. We might do something weird. If I have enough internet, we could do maybe a live episode at the track. I've got lavalier. I got a whole like microphone system. Chris, it's kind of weird. We could actually like set some stuff up and have like a little broadcast thing. Not necessarily where it would be like with the race, but we might try to do something like that next week. I'll be arriving a little bit late, but I'll be there in person. And speaking of in-person stuff, anybody that is actually going to be somehow listening to this and attending, make sure to stop by our campsite. It's going to be in the infield NASCAR, I think near turn 3. So we should be around there somewhere. Weather is looking interesting. No real rain expected. There might be some on Sunday, but not really. Just a potential shower or something in the early morning, Saturday, Sunday, but I don't think it's really going to be anything. Temperatures are okay though. 64. Low is going to be 60. The high on Friday is going to be 60, and then it's going to start rebounding from there. So it's not going to be as brutal temperatures as there were last year, I should say. A little bit more cheerful, enjoyable temperatures of like a race. Like I don't know if I don't know if I'm gonna be prepared to actually enjoy all of like the 24 hours weather-wise. Like it's always been just terrible. Like the last like 5 years I've gone. So
What's that in non-freedom?
20.
Yeah, it's
15.5.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Sweltering.
Very much.
Yeah.
Very much.
Boiling hot day.
Yep. It's really. Oh yeah, that's true. Everybody else is doesn't live in Florida, so you guys don't know the humidity gets awful, guys. I'm sorry, the humidity gets a lot more, and it feels like the wind chill factor comes into play. So it feels colder when you get hit by very humid air. It's just a fact, guys. So
This is actually
about
true.
cold in 20 degrees.
This is actually true. Like I experienced this in real time. I had the whole, tough. Oh, I'm from the north. This doesn't 20 degrees. That's not much. Then I go down to Florida. I'm like, ooh, these winds, these temperatures got hands.
yeah. Well, you know what? It doesn't matter because I will still say that humidity sucks no matter what temperature. And yeah, well, you know what, Jeb? Take some warmth. I don't care. We'll send it. Half the time, whenever the Daytona.
I agreed with you.
Oh, okay. I thought you booed me. Okay, never
I
mind.
said true.
Oh, well,
Oh,
right. Anyway.
you know how people felt when the Beatles broke up. This is that moment right now. With
Oh.
the Dirge.
Well-
Unfortunately.
I'm trying to do.
You're Ringo, unfortunately.
That's not funny.
I'm trying to do like a Craig Ferguson-esque like moment of silence. That's just make it real awkward.
Yep.
Awkward silence. Anyway,
Yeah.
so about IMSA and Rolex24, we'll have threads up on the subreddit, and shout out to all the moderators and stuff that are working on Discord with RWC, because all that is just a tightly run, oiled machine. Very nice job.
Oil?
Yes, lots of oil, quarts of oil. But no, there's like the information's all there. You get the event updates and details whenever they're coming in. It's ridiculously informative. I didn't think Discord could be that ridiculously effective at conveying information, but you guys made it really, really nicely done. So we'll have threads up for pretty much every session that we can think of that's worth being able to listen to or watch. We'll have that up on the subreddit. And if there's any questions you guys have, we'll do that. I might try to do some live thing where we just do a live stream of the Discord stuff, but we'll see about that. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to another awesome and spectacular IMSA season with the Rolex24 kicking us off. And then obviously we have GTP and LMDHs. So guys, any closing thoughts you guys have while we're wrapping up this live episode?
Not much. It's just gonna be a long week of waiting.
Oh, we'll get by. We'll get by.
Not with the BOP complaints.
Oh, and it's Porsche too, so I'm expecting. I don't know how Flood would handle this. Like, yeah, I mean, he's such a Porsche fanboy, so it's just like. But then at the same time, we're definitely supportive of the admin bodies and all their and all the work they do. So, are we gonna hear Flood complain about BOP this week? I don't know.
North American mods waking up at 8 a.m. to see the Europeans have already been arguing for 5 hours about BLP.
Look, that's why we pay you the bucks.
Currently doing a challenge called January. It's where I have to get through January.
Yeah, next episode will be about moderator mental health. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. But yeah, otherwise,
5 Cup episode.
But yeah, I don't know what else we got.
It's the Sarah McLachlan commercial, but it's just pictures of us instead.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. All right. So with that,
me reading the 10th message asking if there's a stream available.
Thank you, Jeb. Thank you for your service. But yeah, we'll have an episode. We'll at least have a post-race episode of the Rolex24 at Daytona coming up. We've got another final episode to do, me and Chris. That'll recap. We'll try to do it. That is, we won't talk about the Rolex24 at all, and that will be absolutely stupid and insane. But I think that might actually be the topic for ours. And then yeah, stay tuned for the Down Under guys as they do their own stuff. I know we got some races coming up too.
Yeah, they're doing I think a couple days after the Rolex, they're going to be recording a Bathurst 12-hour preview episode, 28 cars for that race. So expect the preview episode to probably be up maybe on the Thursday or Friday of next week. And also, one thing to note before we leave, the Bathurst 12-hour has a base support lineup. Unfortunately, they're only going to be showing each support race only once. But you have combined sedans, which is basically just a whole hodgepodge mix of cars, and Formula Ford. So that's going to be Friday night for the North Americans, and then early Friday morning, or Saturday morning European time, and then obviously Saturday for the Antipodeans on the other side of the world. So tune in for that. To be on the Bathurst 12-hour and GT World YouTube channel.
Yeah, we're doing lots of coverage this year, so we're gonna try to hit as many as we can, and we've got different crews trying to cover different stuff. So just keep us tuned in for 2023 and get ready for the Rolex24, guys. We are too. Having fun, guys. Peace out. Gazoo. Oh yeah, and shout out to the guys that were legitimately taking pictures of the other LMDH cars. That was awesome. All right, bye.
Bye.
Wow.